Hello, thanks for being in a new video. This time I have unboxing the Samsung Galaxy A15 5G. Let's get started. A few days ago I published the unboxing of the 4G edition, so don't confuse it. You can go check it out to get to know both models. This edition does support 5G connectivity, which is a more advanced connectivity. Its launch price in Mexico is 4,599 pesos. On the screen you see the reference price in dollars to give you an idea. But remember that the prices here are not the same as over there. As you can see, it is more expensive than the 4G edition, which is obvious because it has greater capabilities. What do you think if you join me to know it in more depth? For now, let's take it out of its box. The first thing we come across is this little box, which we already know is going to simply the charger and quick documentation. Here we have it precisely, a USB-C to USB-C cable and the usual paperwork. As you can see, it does not include charger, so that bothers a lot. Finally, we come to the cell phone. Let's take this wrapper off. And here we're faced with the phone, which honestly has a very nice back cover. It projects several colors. It's a cell phone that looks attractive and at the same time minimalist because of its camera module that doesn't have too many details here. The side and rear design is possibly an attractive point. Let's turn on this device while we see what else is in the box. Uniquely, we come across the Samsung Care Plus promotion. You know, it's an insurance you can take out for your device. You can check out all the terms and conditions on the Samsung page. And finally, we come across just the key to remove the tray, and that's it. And as you can see on the front, the design is much uglier. While we were saying that on the back cover and on the sides it was very nice, on the front it does look like a device from 2 or 3 years ago. So let me set it up so we can go back and take a little deeper look at the rest of its specs. And that's it, we've got the device set up over here. So let's take a look at the main specifications of this device. Its display is 6.5-inch Super AMOLED display with full HD plus resolution and 90 Hz in its refresh rate. It's a good screen, although not of Samsung's most recent generation. So perhaps the white color representation is not going to be as accurate, especially speaking from some side. Although, obviously, the fact that it is a Super AMOLED screen is going to allow it to give us very intense colors and very high contrasts. So, it is a very good screen. It weighs 200 grams and is 8.4 millimeters thick. On the side, it debuts the key island, which is this small relief to place the buttons. The fingerprint reader is also located here. The truth is that it will be a device virtually identical to the Galaxy A15 in its 4G edition, with the main difference in its processor. It integrates a speaker at the bottom and headphone jack. In this case, we still do not see the stereo sound feature, although in this entry range it is not yet something so common, so we could not get so demanding in this regard. The front camera is 13 megapixels with f-aperture 2.0. As usual here, I have a first impressions test. Before taking the picture, it still looks very overexposed, the background in these backlit conditions. But after taking the picture, it seems that it is able to make a good balance of light and shadow. Obviously, we'll do a little more advanced testing in the video review, but for now, it seems to be a camera with good detail and good quality. And on the back, we first find the ultra-cool 5 megapixel camera with f2.2 aperture. Then the 50 megapixel main camera with f1.8 aperture, and then a 2 megapixel macro camera with f-aperture 2.4. That is, it has exactly the same photographic system as its sibling 4G. So if you are only interested in the camera, it is probably more convenient to acquire the 4G edition because this edition is more expensive but has exactly the same camera. Although because of the difference in processor, there might also be some difference between color rendition and other things. So in the review, we will take a much closer look at how the photos turn out. But here's a quick first look. This is the ultra-cool camera that has 5 megapixels. The pictures, I think, come out well within expectations. This is the main camera, which apparently has a good balance of highlights and shadows for these backlit pictures. I also took a picture with the 2x zoom setting. It seems to have a good quality. And finally, I went up to the maximum zoom setting, which is 10x. And in this case, I think the quality is just acceptable. In the price range, we couldn't ask much more from it. It supports full HD video recording at 30 frames per second. There are no surprises here either, and no differences from the 4G edition. The battery is 5000 milliamps and supports 25 watts charging, but you have to buy the charger separately. This again, as I have already told you, is a very annoying point. Although the battery capacity is good, and you have to remember that you could also purchase a power delivery charger. So you don't necessarily have to buy the original charger, which can be a bit more expensive. In this case, it arrives with 4 GB of RAM and also 128 GB of storage. Although this is something that could vary depending on each country, since it seems to me that in other regions it is distributed with up to 8 GB of RAM, which would be much more attractive. But in the case of Mexico, we were left with 4 GB of RAM, which is a bit short, especially considering that Samsung's operating system is usually quite loaded with many options. And that could cause the system to behave slowly at times. But in the full review, I will tell you more details regarding the performance of this device. The good thing is that it comes with One UI 6 and Android 14, plus with the promise of 4 years of software updates and 5 years of security patches. So software tends to be a strong point of Galaxy devices, because it comes not only with very interesting options and features that you don't usually see on other devices, but also with support for many years of updates. And finally, the processor is the MediaTek Dimensity 6100 Plus. Let's run a benchmark to more or less get an idea of how good this processor can be, or how powerful it is. It seems to me that it is a good processor, and this continues to surprise me, because Samsung in previous generations gave us proposals of processors much lower than what one expected in that price range. In this case, not only meets without even think that sometimes could be above what one would expect, especially considering that it is a Galaxy phone that usually has its main focus on the screen and cameras. But let's wait for the test to finish and come back to see your results. And presto, here's the score. 694 point single core and 1830 multi-core. Again, just like its 4G edition, it is a device that is not characterized by being very powerful. In fact, let's say that the processor is practically the same in terms of power. The only difference will be the support for 5G networks that this edition has. So it's up to you as a user what you are going to choose. Although in the video review I will give you much more details. For now, we have reached the end of this video. If you liked it, you know you can let me know, and we'll see you next time.